Hello everyone, this is part 7 of What If Naruto Was the God of Fuinjutsu, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Sasuke was actually shaking from the power coming off of Naruto. Why? Sasuke gritted his teeth harder and harder as he began to get angrier at Naruto. Why does he continue to stand up? I was positive that should have killed him, but why didn't it? Sasuke finally couldn't take it anymore. What did that power Naruto tell me? Naruto just looked on with sadness in his eyes, but knew Sasuke would figure it out sooner or later. I am a Jinchuriki Sasuke. Sasuke still had a look of confusing on his face until Naruto went on. I'm the Jinchuriki to Kyuubi no Kitsune. Sasuke's eyes immediately looked like saucer dishes after that bit of news. The Kyuubi no Kitsune, Sasuke thought as he slowly backed up a few steps from Naruto. That demon nearly destroyed the entire village and now it is sealed inside Naruto. Sasuke couldn't help but feel dread start to grip his heart. Sasuke turned and jumped in the air while performing hand signs, but he never got halfway done when Naruto threw his arm and sent his red chakra sailing towards him. Sasuke turned to avoid the chakra arm, but it suddenly changed course and grabbed him. What? This chakra acts like it has a life of its own. Sasuke was immediately pulled towards Naruto, who punched him in the face, sending him back to the canyon wall. Naruto looked down at his hand and noticed it was shaking and that it hurt a little. I can't stay in this form much longer. Naruto turned towards Sasuke, who was on his hands and knees huffing and puffing. Sasuke looked at Naruto and Naruto saw that the black marks had expanded themselves all across Sasuke's face. What's going on? You think you're the only one that is special? Sasuke looked at Naruto as his black marks began to close in, turning Sasuke's skin from white to dark gray. Sasuke looked down at his hands and smiled, but suddenly he lurched forward as two things began to try and force themselves out of his back. Naruto turned away as he heard the ripping sound and turned back to see Sasuke sporting two wings shaped like hands. But I have news for you, I'm a lot more special than you. Naruto growled and went back to all fours and charged, kicking up a wave of water. Sasuke stood his ground with a smile as Naruto rammed into him, crashing through the wall and dragging him across the rock's face. Naruto stopped and swung Sasuke into the nearest thing possible, which just happened to be the leg of Madara's statue. Naruto watched until he saw Sasuke jump out of the smoke, flapping the wings on his back. Looks like the fox is grounded. Sasuke smiled as Naruto disappeared in speed, but thanks to his Sharingan, Sasuke followed Naruto, running up Madara's statue. Sasuke dodged just as Naruto jumped at him, but that was when he remembered something. Naruto's chakra seemed to be alive. Sasuke turned around to see two giant chakra hands grab his wings and throw him into Hashirama chest, making the entire area shake. We both can't keep this up, Sasuke. Naruto yelled out just as Sasuke jumped out of the smoke wearing a sadistic smile. I don't know about you, but I can keep going. Sasuke placed his hands together and spat out 10 small fireballs at Naruto. Naruto stood his ground as the fireballs hit his chakra cloak, but when they went out, Naruto got the biggest shock of the day. Everlast fireball was a kunai with an explosive tag attached to it. The tags exploded, shaking the ground even further as Sasuke laughed on, but his laughter stopped when red chakra launched towards him in the shape of a fox's head, snarling at him with teeth bared. Sasuke dodged the chakra barely, but one of his wings was almost completely ripped off, sending Sasuke spiraling back to the ground. When the smoke cleared, Naruto was shown with his entire shirt blown off, with a few burns on his chest and running down his left arm, but it was already beginning to heal. The red chakra quickly resurfaced and covered Naruto again. Damn, looks like this chakra can't protect me from everything. Naruto turned to Sasuke just as his left arm went numb. What the F just happened? Naruto tried to move his left arm, but found he couldn't make it budge. Naruto heard rocks splashing into the water and looked up to see Sasuke standing up, still missing his wing. Sasuke took a step forward, but suddenly lurched forward with his face scrunched up in pain. Sasuke, please stop this. If we keep going like this, we'll end up killing each other. Sakura asked me to bring you back safely, but for me to do it carefully. You are starting to make it a lot harder for me to keep my promise, Sasuke. Sasuke just smiled at Naruto with madness in his eyes. Why? We're just getting started. Sasuke disappeared and reappeared right next to Naruto. Naruto ducked a kick to his head, but when he threw a punch at Sasuke with his right arm he caught it. Sasuke smiled and chucked Naruto into the rock wall. Sasuke looked at the wall until a wave of red chakra came sailing towards him. Sasuke jumped in the air and tried to fly away, but fell only to get caught up in the chakra wave, crashing him into the wall. Naruto walked out of the rubble with his chakra wearing a snarl. Sasuke looked up just as Naruto's chakra wrapped around his body and swung him into the water below. The river shook as Sasuke hit the bottom, but he quickly yanked himself out of the water, landing on the water, charging up another Chidori, but this one sounded like 1,000 birds taking flight and was pure black. I'm tired of playing around, this ends here, Naruto. Naruto held out his hand and charged up his Rasengan, but it took of a million color to it. Naruto and Sasuke stood by and looked at each other before charging, swinging their respective jutsu at each other. The two connected and the river immediately was pushed away from the two. Naruto gritted his teeth and pushed harder on his Rasengan, making Sasuke do the same, but just when Sasuke was being pushed back he smiled. Naruto was confused until he heard the flapping sound behind him. Naruto turned to see Sasuke smiling at him holding another black Chidori. When Naruto turned to the other Sasuke, he had gripped his arm holding a cruel smile as the second Chidori ripped through Naruto back. Cage, Bunshin. Naruto gasped out as B started to come out of his mouth. Naruto was then thrown as hard as Sasuke could into the statue of Hashirama, making the statue shake from the force. XXX. Ishiki felt Kyuubi's chakra suddenly vanish and a feeling of dread washed over him. Damn, we need to hurry now. The other two nodded their heads and began to pick up the pace. Please be safe, Naruto. XXX. Sasuke looked down at Naruto, who was to his surprise still breathing. Sasuke himself wasn't doing too well either, from using the Chidori to the cage Bunshin he was standing just from using his curse mark. All I have to do is K him and then I will have Mangekyo. Sasuke drew out a kunai and was about to bring an end to Naruto's laugh when Sasuke's back was suddenly open. Sasuke jumped forward while turning to see his attacker. Standing right next to Naruto was Enmatsuki with her hood down, revealing a woman with brown hair with blue eyes with twinge of red in them. Who the F are you? Enmatsuki looked down to see Naruto breathing and smiled. I'm no one of your concern. Enmatsuki looked at Sasuke and Sasuke felt the air in his lungs being pulled out from the amount of K intent she was letting out. I don't care about you, Naruto is my concern, so run away Uchiha before I stomp out your clan here and now. The tone in her voice suggested that she would do just that. Sasuke turned around and with one last look at Naruto vanished in a swirl of leaves. Naruto. Enmatsuki leaned on Naruto with her head resting on his chest. Hearing a faint heartbeat she smiled, but knew if she didn't get him to Konoha then he would. Enmatsuki was about to lean down and pick Naruto up when she heard twigs break. She turned on a dime only to see Ishiki, Denpa, and Kakuheiki. Whoa, there it's us. Ishiki held up his hands as Enmatsuki continued to stare at him, but instead of blue eyes she was now sporting red eyes. Prove it. Enmatsuki growled out. We found you at the edge of death, we brought you to Ononami to help you. Ishiki said as he slowly lowered his arms. You then asked, is there any way you could repay us, and from that moment on you helped watch over Naruto. Enmatsuki looked at Ishiki a little more before easing up. Her eyes slowly returned back to normal, making Ishiki breathe a sigh of relief. Please don't ever stare at me with those eyes again. Enmatsuki smiled slyly at Ishiki, who smiled right back. Ishiki looked down and saw Naruto and immediately his smile vanished, but before he could talk the sound of chirping birds caught their attention. They all turned around to see Kakuheiki with an arm wrapped around his throat, with Kakashi standing behind him holding a Reikiri, lightning cutter. Tell me what happened or your friend is introduced to the gates of hell. Kakashi glared at them and everyone felt the electricity begin to build in his jutsu. Do you really want to stand here and talk? Naruto is currently dying. Isiki indicated the boy behind him. Besides, we just got here ourselves, we were sent to deliver something to the Hokage. Ishiki slowly reached into his pack and pulled out the scroll and gently showed it to Kakashi, who looked at it with suspicion, but one look at Naruto made his mind up. Fine, but one false move and I'll make you regret ever being born. Ishiki nodded his head towards Enmatsuki, who gently picked Naruto up, and the group jumped towards Konoha as fast as they could. XXX. Tsunade was currently heading out the hospital after giving Choji the medicine to save his life when she heard a voice call her. Hokage-sama. Tsunade turned around and saw Naruto in Enmatsuki's arms with his eyes barely open, a hole punched into his chest that was healing very slowly. Bring him inside quickly. Enmatsuki nodded her head and rushed into the hospital with Tsunade right behind her. Looks like it is going to be a long day. XXX. Naruto woke up once more in the hospital, this time with a splitting headache and a burning pain in his chest. Last time I can that Chidori version in the chest. Naruto grumbled this out just as Tsunade entered the room. Naruto, you're awake. Tsunade ran over but when she got close enough she gave him a punch to the head, but without any chakra. Ow. Naruto gripped his head as he glared at Tsunade. What was that for? Tsunade just glared right down at Naruto. That was making us worry so much, Naruto. Tsunade took the charts from his bed and shoved at him. Check how long you been out. Naruto did just that and was surprised by what he found. 2 weeks. Naruto looked the chart over and he couldn't believe it. How Kyuubi usually heals me up in time to wake me up in 2 days. Because Kyuubi may be able to heal almost any wound you receive, but the deeper the wound the slower the healing process. Tsunade just continued to glare at Naruto as he laid the chart down and looked at her. I couldn't do it. Naruto turned his eyes to his covers as he gripped him tightly. I couldn't get Sasuke back. Tsunade looked down and was about to punch again, but realized Naruto wasn't in the best condition physically or emotionally. Naruto, if you couldn't bring him back, then why didn't you K him? At the word K, Naruto flinched and looked further down. I was posed to do just that, but then I remembered my promise to Sakura. Tsunade waited, seeing Naruto needed to say more. So I aimed lower, but realized that no matter where I aimed Sasuke was going to S. I wanted to keep my promise. If I can't do that, then I don't deserve to be Hokage. Tsunade knew Naruto was hiding something, but didn't press the matter. The door opened and revealed Sakura and Hinata both holding flowers, but when Hinata saw Naruto she ran at him and gave him a hug. Naruto felt pain rip through his body, but it passed as quickly as it came. Naruto. Hinata began to cry into Naruto's shoulder, hurting Naruto more than any wound. When I saw you I really thought you were going to S. Naruto gently pushed Hinata away until she was looking into his eyes. I told you I'm not going to S anytime soon. Naruto gave Hinata a quick K. Naruto looked at Sakura and was about to speak when Sakura beat him to it. It's okay, Naruto, Sakura said as she laid the flowers on his legs and gave him a light hug. I know you tried, but I guess I'm to blame. Naruto looked confused for a few seconds. I told you to bring Sasuke back. I tried to relay on you to bring him back, but no more. I will help and do whatever needs to be done to bring Sasuke back, or, Sakura let the sentence unfinished as she turned around and walked out, but not before giving Naruto a smile. Naruto looked at Tsunade and realized she was hiding something. What is it, Tsunade? The council wants to speak to you. Naruto just groaned as he laid down. Tell them I'm not interested in being. Tsunade interrupted Naruto, but with hesitation. It's about that anymore, Naruto. Naruto looked at Tsunade and saw sadness in her eyes. It's something a little more serious. Naruto just narrowed his eyes at Tsunade. XXX. You can't be serious. Homura yelled out at Ishiki, who rubbed his ear. It really echoes in here. Denpa looked at his brother with a smile and received a yes to the back of the head. Yes, it does. Ishiki looked at Kakuheki, who was sleeping against the wall, as Enmatsuki looked at Danzo every few seconds with a slight worry in her eyes. And for your information, yes, we are serious. We are here to take Naruto to a friend of ours for more training. I'm sorry, but that is out of the question. Naruto is going to be restricted to the village. Koharu stated as she looked at the group. Look, we can play this silly game, but the result will be Naruto coming with us. Danzo stood up and looked more closely at Enmatsuki, who backed away a little. Have I seen you somewhere before? Danzo questioned, making the girl back away a little more. That hair and eye color, you're from the Tentokurite, Heaven Cutter, clan. Enmatsuki just glared at the ground. I don't know what you are talking about. Enmatsuki stated as she looked at Danzo with anger. My name is Enmatsuki. That right there proves it. Danzo said as he sat down once more. I met some members of your clan during the Second Great Shinobi War and all of them have been named after the moon. You apparently are no exception, but what confuses me is that your clan was wiped out during the war. My father managed to get my mother away. Enmatsuki said through clenched teeth. And now you are the last. Enmatsuki said nothing, but her silence spoke for her. Before they could continue, the door opened and Naruto, followed by Jiraiya and Tsunade, walked in. Naruto looked around the room and saw two familiar faces. Ishiki, Denpa. Naruto smiled as he walked up to greet the two people who helped him get on the path of Fuinjutsu. Naruto, you've grown since the last time we saw you. Denpa said, putting a hand on Naruto's head and rubbing, messing his hair up even more than it already was. I got a lot stronger thanks to you guys as well. Naruto said with a note of pride. We can tell. Ishiki said, shaking Naruto a little. So who are they? Naruto said, pointing to Enmatsuki and Kakuheki, who was rubbing his eyes just now waking up. You don't remember me, Naruto. Enmatsuki looked visible hurt until Naruto's widened. Enmatsuki. Enmatsuki smiled and nodded. Naruto turned to Kakuheki, who looked at Naruto with a bored expression. Who are you? Kakuheki yawned at Naruto, making him raise an eyebrow as he looked at Ishiki, who just shook his head. His name is Kakuheki. Ishiki looked at the man in question and found that he was asleep again. Anyway, back to business. Ishiki looked at Tsunade, who glared daggers into him. No need to give me such a look, Hokage-sama. I came here not demanding Naruto, but saying that he needs to come with us. And what if I refuse? Tsunade crossed her arms with a defiant expression on her face. Ishiki's response was taking the scroll out and handing it over to her. I'm afraid that is not an option. Ishiki watched as Tsunade opened the scroll and began to read its content. Tsunade's face slowly began to transform from anger to confusing, then to sadness. At the bottom of the scroll, Tsunade's face turned to that of sheer surprise. Jiraiya. Tsunade yelled out, making the toad hermit jump and run over to Tsunade. See if this is real or not. Tsunade handed the scroll over to Jiraiya, who took a hold of the scroll and began to look it over with a concentrated eye. When Jiraiya came back, his face told the story. Sorry Tsunade, it's real. Tsunade grabbed Jiraiya by the arm and led him out of the council room and into the hallway. Ishiki was smiling at Naruto as they listened to the Tsunade yell at Jiraiya, not loud enough to be heard, but still pretty loud. When the two entered the room again, Tsunade had a look of anger and despair. If you hurt him, Tsunade growled out, we promise he will be well kept for. Enmatsuki said with a smile. Tsunade just continued to glare at them until she turned to Jiraiya. Jiraiya, you're going with them. Jiraiya looked at her, but only nodded with a smile. I expect daily reports writing by Naruto, and I will know if it is him or not. Ishiki smiled and looked at the council, who was staring at Tsunade in shock. What are you doing, Tsunade Haim? Koharu yelled out, with the other two members looking on with slight glares. I have no choice in this matter. Tsunade tossed them the scroll and they went over it with shocked eyes. But this means. Homura was quickly silenced by Denpa, who managed to wrap a cloth around Homura's mouth. Shush. Denpa held a finger to his lips with a smile. That is a secret. Denpa released his side of the cloth and looked at Naruto. Okay, we leave tomorrow. Naruto was still confused about everything happening and Ishiki could see it. We're taking you to a special individual to help you train for 3 years, Naruto. Naruto's eyes brightened up, but then he remembered Hinata. So we are leaving tomorrow. Ishiki nodded his head, and no sooner had he done that Naruto was out the door. Was it something I said? Ishiki looked at Jiraiya, who shook his head. No, it's just something he needs to go do. Jiraiya turned around and headed out the same door. XXX. Naruto finally found Hinata walking towards her home. Hinata. Hinata turned towards the sound of Naruto's voice, only for the two to enter each other and land on the ground. Hinata opened her eyes to see Naruto laying on top of her, making her blush like a tomato. Naruto quickly got off of Hinata and helped her up, much his own embarrassment. Hinata, I need to tell you something. Hinata nodded her head, listening intently to Naruto. I'm going to be leaving on a 3-year training mission apparently. Hinata stared at Naruto in shock, not believing Naruto is going to be gone that long. When do you leave? Hinata asked with sadness etched in her voice. Tomorrow. Naruto just looked at Hinata with sad eyes until he grabbed her hand and began to lead her through the village. What are we doing? Hinata looked back at her house, then at Naruto. We are going to make the most out of the time we have left today. Hinata smiled at Naruto, but looked back to see a figure with a white kimono disappear back into the house. So were two first? Hinata asked with a smile as Naruto drew her close and kissed her. How about that waterfall? Hinata blushed and nodded her head as the two headed to their first destination. XXX. Hinata returned to her house at night with a smile as she walked up to her door and entered. Where have you been? Hinata froze at the voice of her father Hiyashi. She turned around to see him sitting in a chair with a calm expression. Father, Hinata said with some regret in her voice. I'm sorry I'm so late for our training session, but I was with Naruto Uzumaki. Hiyashi finished for her as he stood up. So it was you that I saw watching us? Hinata stated as Hiyashi walked up to her. Yes. Hiyashi looked down at his daughter and smiled a sad smile. I'm sorry he is leaving tomorrow. So you heard. Hinata looked at the ground as Hiyashi placed a hand on his daughter's shoulder. Yes I did. Hiyashi gave a small K on her head. So I will excuse his actions this time, but this means you will have to catch up on the training you missed today, understand? Hinata looked up at her father and gave him a big hug. Thank you. Hinata ran off to her bedroom leaving behind a smiling Hiyashi. XXX. Did you say all the goodbyes you wanted to? Ishiki asked as Naruto approached the gate. Yeah. Naruto stated as he looked out into the forest. Now let's go. Naruto began to walk with Denpa leading the group towards their destination. Don't worry, Hinata'll be back and stronger than ever. Naruto smiled back at the village. And Sasuke, you better watch out, because I'm coming for you. Naruto's face turned into that of sheer determination as a bird flew into the air and vanished into the clouds. Naruto just woke up to find himself walking through the woods on his back. Naruto sat up to find himself being carried by Kakuheki, who looked tired as usual. How long have I been asleep? Naruto asked, making Kakuheki look at him with a bored expression. Too long, was all he said before placed Naruto on his feet and continued to walk on. Did I do something wrong? Naruto looked at Ishiki, who shook his head. No, we kinda made him carry you, because you were still asleep and we needed to get moving. Ishiki smiled down at Naruto as Kakuheki yawned while he rubbed his eyes. Why is he always tired? Naruto looked at Kakuheki, who looked like he was about to collapse at any moment. Well, it isn't that he's tired. Ishiki smiled at Kakuheki as he leaned against a tree. He is the most laziest person you can ever meet in your life, but there is another reason. If the enemy believes you are already weakened, then he will make a mistake. Naruto looked as Kakuheki leaned against the nearest tree and fell asleep. Ishiki smiled at his friend as he gave him a smack to the back of the head. Come on, Sleeping Beauty, time to get moving. XXX. 1 hour later, the group made it to a small clearing with a small cabin in the center. As the group approached the home, the door opened to reveal Onanami with a smile on his face. Oh, it's so good to see you. Onanami walked slowly towards Naruto until he stopped in front of him with the biggest smile anyone had ever seen. I've only seen you once, Naruto, in a tiny photograph. Onanami actually began to cry as he gave Naruto a tight hug, making Naruto look around in a confused manner. I'm sorry, but I have no idea who you are. Onanami gently pulled away and looked at Naruto with a look of slight disappointment before he smiled again. I'm sorry, I should have introduced myself first. Onanami stood up and looked at Naruto with happiness reflected in his eyes. I'm Onanami Uzumaki, father of Kushina Uzumaki. I'm your grandfather. Naruto looked at Onanami with nothing more than pure shock. XXX. A bird flew towards Senji as he stood on a pedestal. The bird landed on his shoulder and began to tweet into his ear. Senji smiled even bigger as the bird continued to speak. Excellent. Senji gave the small bird a seed and it disappeared in a puff of smoke. Sir Onanami is still alive, I thought after he used his clan's most forbidden Fuinjutsu. Or well, I guess he is just another loose end that I need to tie up. Senji was about to jump down when a voice behind him made him jump. So you have your own agenda. Senji turned around and saw Madara staring at him. I knew you would find me out, Madara. Madara actually lone eye widened in shock, but quickly lowered. I thought you forgot all about me. Madara slowly approached Senji, who just stared at Madara. How could I forget all about you, little Madara? Madara's eye narrowed in anger at Senji, who gently stepped off his pedestal. Don't talk to me as if I'm a mere child. Madara watched as Senji walked around him with a calm smile. My apologies, I didn't mean to offend the great Madara, or should I say the once great Madara. Madara's hands twitched as he glared at Senji. You better watch how you talk to me. Madara turned and faced Senji, who slowly got off the wall. I know your secret, Senji. You do have a special Jikuken ninjutsu, but the ability to slow down time in your personal space is only a side effect of the real power. It allows you to slow down your aging and even stop UB flow for a few seconds, but how did you know it was me? At this, Senji smiled even bigger. Please, you may have some of these fools hooked on your whole, Toby, thing, but I was there when you and Hashirama created Konoha and forged that alliance with Uzushiogakure. Senji crossed his arms with a smug look on his face. I recognized your chakra as soon as I saw you. Madara continued to stare at Senji for a few more seconds. This stays between me and you, understand? Madara walked past Senji, who smiled with his eyes closed. But of course, I mean, there is no gain in it if I tell the rest who you really are. This stopped Madara as he slowly turned his head towards Senji, who continued to smile. Have a nice day. Senji then got off the wall and vanished in a slight flicker of speed. I'll have to watch him carefully. Madara thought with concern as he continued to walk down the hallway with a frown behind his mask. XXX. What, so you are my mom's dad? Naruto asked this with disbelief in his voice. Yes, your mother was named Kushina and she was my daughter. Onanami smiled down at Naruto as his disbelief soon turned into anger. Then why did I have to grow up alone? Naruto growled out, making Onanami look away with sadness. I wanted to come and help you, but in my present state I could barely leave the cabin. Onanami stated as a light breeze blew through his mid-length gray hair. I did everything I could through to keep you safe. I had Enmatsuki watch over you and Ishiki and Denpa give you the book over Fuinjutsu. All in the hopes of finally meeting you. Naruto watched as Onanami gently sat on the ground, still wearing his smile. Naruto turned to Ishiki and Denpa and glared at them. You told me I was the last Uzumaki left. Ishiki and Denpa both looked at each with nervous smiles. Well, back then we had no choice. Ishiki began, but Naruto still continued to stare at them. What would you have done if we told you that you had a clan member out there still alive? Denpa's question made Naruto look at the ground in thought. You would have begged and pleaded with us to take you to him, but we couldn't allow you to see him just yet. Why not? Naruto asked, angered, but the answer didn't come from Ishiki or Denpa, it came from Onanami. Because the training I have planned was going to require you to have a few more tricks up our sleeve before we attempt it. Naruto looked at his grandfather with a puzzled expression. And what training is that? At this, Onanami smiled as he stared at Naruto. We are going to help you gain complete control over the Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto just looked at Onanami and smiled. Already done it. Onanami looked at Naruto with narrowed eyes, making Naruto's smile dwindled. No, you haven't. Before Naruto could interrupt, Onanami continued onwards. You've learned how to draw on its chakra, but not separate it. Naruto's confused look said everything, making Onanami sigh. Okay, the Kyuubi is made up of two things, its chakra and its will. Now tell me what happens when you tap into Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto thought back to the last few times he used Kyuubi's chakra. I felt angry, almost like I had just all this rage building inside me. Onanami nodded his head and continued onwards. That is the will of the Kyuubi trying to influence you and take you over. Onanami could tell Naruto was listening with everything he had, and that made him smile. When you draw on Kyuubi's power, you also draw on its will. The only way to use Kyuubi's chakra to its full potential is to separate it from the beast itself. Naruto nodded his head and smiled with everything he had. Alright then, let's get this thing started. Naruto started to walk forward only to be stopped by Onanami again. Sorry Naruto, but you can't face the Kyuubi, at least not yet. Naruto stared at Onanami in confusion until he explained. First you must be the darkness that lies in the deepest regions of your heart. Then and only then can you face the Kyuubi. That was when Jiraiya had enough. What are you talking about? Jiraiya glared at Onanami, who simply smiled. Naruto can't beat the Kyuubi, not at the level he is at. Exactly, that is why we are going to help him. This brought a look of confusion from everyone. I'm going to send us into Naruto inner mind using the Fuinjutsu seals I've been working on since I planned this little reunion. Once there we will be able to help him fight off the Kyuubi while he draws out its chakra, and once that is done the real training can begin. But first we need something. Onanami stared at Jiraiya, who continued to glare at Onanami. The key, Jiraiya, we need it. I'm sorry, but I can't allow. Jiraiya stopped when Onanami glared at him with hate in his eyes. I don't have a lot of time left, Jiraiya. Onanami stated with no emotion. Besides, don't you think Minato would have liked his son to have the key? Jiraiya's eyes went wide as he stared at Onanami in shock. What, did you really think I wasn't watching my daughter as she grew up? I was always watching over her, but I couldn't make it in time to save her. So this Minato person is my dad. Onanami looked at Naruto and with a startled expression. You don't know the name of your Yondaime Hokage. Naruto's eyes went as wide as saucer dishes. I guess you didn't know, so I'll tell you. Your mother was Kushina Uzumaki and your father was the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. You wasn't. Jiraiya was stopped when Onanami spoke in a clear and precise voice. He is going to find out sooner or later, and besides, now that he knows who his family was, he has to get stronger in order to preserve their memories. Naruto looked at Onanami and nodded his head. Onanami was about to get off the ground when he gripped his chest and began to cough up small amounts of bee, making everyone panic. Naruto made a move to help, but Onanami waved him down as his fit ended. I'm running out of time, Jiraiya, so if you want Naruto to get stronger in order to protect himself, then you need to hand over the key. Jiraiya looked at the group and then looked at Naruto. Jiraiya smiled at the look Naruto gave him of nothing but sheer determination. You know, your father gave me that same look when I said he was going to be Hokage. Jiraiya bit his thumb and rubbed it on his palm. I guess I have no choice but to believe in you just as I believed in him. Jiraiya pressed his palms together and opened his mouth, and out came a very long toad with a scroll for a belly. Jiraiya, what are you doing summoning me? The toad stated in a grumpy tone. Sorry, but I'm handing you over to Naruto Geratora. This brought about a shocked look on the scroll toad. Absolutely not. Geratora made an X shape with his arms with an angered expression. The kid is not ready to have this kind of responsibility. Besides, do you think he is ready to face the Kyuubi? Jiraiya thought about it before he answered. No. Geratora visibly relaxed, but then Jiraiya spoke. I don't think anyone is ever fully prepared to face the Kyuubi, but if anyone can beat it is Naruto. He has the best chance possible with all of us here. Geratora began to laugh. I don't mean to sound rude, but the entire Konoha forces could barely hold the Kyuubi back. Geratora looked at Naruto with an intense stare. What makes you think you can beat it? Because my father managed to beat the Kyuubi. Naruto announced without fear, startling Geratora. I don't care what happens to me afterwards, but I will gain Kyuubi's power. I have to in order to protect my friends. Besides, together with everyone we will be able to beat the Kyuubi, and that is a promise. Geratora looked at Naruto a few seconds longer before turning back to Jiraiya. It doesn't really matter what I say, does it? Jiraiya smiled as Geratora unraveled his scroll stomach to reveal seals all over it with a hand-sized one in the middle. Put your hand on the circle and add some of your chakra. Naruto did just that and left a handprint of his on the scroll. Now open wide. Naruto was confused until Geratora launched himself forward and stuck himself into Naruto's mouth. Jiraiya smiled as he watched his godson struggle to get the toad out of his mouth. Jiraiya simply walked forward and with a chakra-enhanced push he shoved the toad into Naruto. Naruto gasped for air as he fell to the ground and glared at Jiraiya. Why did you do that? Because Geratora has to store himself inside you for you to use the key. Jiraiya smiled at Naruto, got up, but still glared at him. Now that we got the key, it is time for you to face your own hatred, Naruto. Onanami got off the ground and led the way to the cabin with the group following behind. Enmatsuki, I want you to stare out here in case we have uninvited guests. Enmatsuki nodded her head and turned around to face the woods. XXX. After entering the house, Naruto and the group were then guided into a small secret door that led to a large underground area covered in seals. This is where we will fight Kyuubi and you will fight you, darkness. Naruto nodded his head and went to the center of the room. Now sit down and meditate, let nothing distract you from your mind. Naruto closed his eyes and breathed until it looked like he wasn't breathing. XXX. Naruto opened his eyes to see the same old sewer as before. Naruto turned down the passage that led to the Kyuubi and found a iron gate blocking his passage. I see, so I have to go this way. Naruto turned around and walked down the opposite passage. As Naruto walked down the passage, he heard a voice echoing deep in the sewer. Why? Naruto continued onward without any hesitation. Why do you care about that village and that traitor? Naruto kept walking, but found images of his past flash in front of his eyes. Naruto walked until he was out of the sewer and in an open environment with blackened trees and a scorched earth. Naruto continued to look around until he saw someone standing in the distance with his back to him. Who are you? Naruto called out and watched as the person turned to him and smiled a cruel smile. The person walked towards Naruto until Naruto saw him completely. It was him. What's wrong, Naruto? Yami, Naruto called out. Are you shocked to see the real you? Naruto just stared at his dark half in confusing. What are you talking about? Naruto asked, angered at this dark being that smirked even bigger at Naruto. I'm the real Naruto. Really? Then why do I stand here before you? Yami opened his arms wide as if in a hugging gesture. You see this area? This is your anger and rage. I'm the only one who is the true king of this land. I'm done talking. I have to beat you in order to control Kyuubi. Yami's eyes flinched at Kyuubi's name, but Naruto didn't take notice. So I guess all I have to do is beat you down. Naruto placed his finger together and created 5 clones. You really are a fool, Naruto. Yami did the same thing, creating 5 clones. Whatever you can do, I do. Naruto narrowed his eyes as Yami charged at him with hatred and excitement reflected in his dark eyes. XXX. Naruto's eye flashed open as he laid on the ground breathing hard. How do I win? Naruto asked. So I take it you ended in a tie. Onanami spoke, making everyone look at him. I guess it isn't much of a surprise. Every time one of the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi tries to control its power, they usually always tie with their inner darkness 4 times in the least. Naruto looked at the ground with slight disappointment in his eyes. How can I beat someone who knows exactly what I'm going to do? Naruto looked at his grandfather for help, but found his grandfather looking at him with a sad smile. I'm afraid that is something you are going to have to figure out for yourself. Before Naruto could respond, Onanami brought his hand up to silence Naruto. Let me explain. The reason why I can't help you is because it is different for each person. What do you mean? Naruto asked, confused. Let me say it like this. Onanami sat on the ground and looked as his grandson did the same thing. Everyone has something that creates darkness inside them. The darkness is created when you refuse to accept that half of you. So to be it, you have to do the opposite of what your darkness is doing, but it is up to you to find out what. Naruto thought about everything Yami said during the brief conversation and fight. I know what to do. Naruto looked at Onanami with a grin like a fox, making Onanami smile back. Naruto sat down and began to meditate as the seals began to glow. XXX. Naruto awoke to the burnt-out landscape once again. Suddenly Naruto had to duck as kunai came sailing above his head. Naruto turned around to see Yami twirling another kunai in his hand. Nice dodge, but can you dodge this? Yami threw the other kunai, but it exploded into 30 different kunai. Naruto Simple brought his arm guard up and created his chakra shield. Yami Simple waited as Naruto lowered his chakra shield and then he smirked at him. Come on, aren't you going to attack? No, I'm not. Yami's eyes went wide at Naruto's simple statement. You have to attack. Yami's voice was riddled with a little panic as Naruto smiled at him. Why? Naruto asked as Yami glared at him a little. Is it to prove you exist, or is it because of my will to protect Konoha and my promise to bring Sasuke back? Why do you defend them? Yami charged at Naruto, making Naruto sidestep slightly to dodge. All they did was treat us like garbage. So why do you protect them? Because no matter what happens, Konoha will always be my home and Sasuke, I will always consider him a brother. Naruto watched as Yami fell to his knees and cried. Then what is the meaning of my existence? Yami looked up at Naruto with rage in his eyes. I will not disappear, Naruto. Yami charged at Naruto with a fist raised, but when he got close enough, Naruto wrapped both arms around him and gave him a hug. I won't let you disappear. Naruto smiled as he felt Yami weaken a little. You will always be a part of me and nothing will ever change that. If it wasn't for your existence, I probably never be where I am now. So for that I thank you. Yami's eyes lightened up as he turned into light and faded into Naruto. XXX. Onanami watched as Naruto's eyes opened and he immediately knew the result. So you won. Naruto looked at his grandfather with a smile. Okay, take a break, tomorrow we will fight the Kyuubi. Naruto nodded his head as he laid down on the floor with a smile. Naruto walked down to the basement with the group who was coming with him. The group consisted of Onanami, Kakuheiki, Denpa, and Jiraiya. Jiraiya had changed the most and was now sporting two toads on his shoulder that kept bickering back and forth at each other. Ishiki stayed behind, insisting he would only be a hindrance, and Enmatsuki stayed behind to guard the area. The plan was simple. Denpa, Kakuheiki, Onanami, and Jiraiya were to combat the fox while Naruto drained its chakra away little by little, but Onanami warned Naruto that he was the one who had to finish the fox off or they would never beat the Kyuubi. Naruto's eyes were distant, almost like he was in a trance as he walked down the candle-lit stairs. He was thinking about the words his grandfather said to him after he woke up. XXX. Flashback. Now Naruto, you must pull out the entire chakra of Kyuubi in order to control him. Onanami said this with hesitation, making Naruto worried. But at the same time, Kyuubi will be doing the same thing, and if he succeeds then he will come back. And what happens if I do fail? Onanami looked down at the ground, looking a lot older. Then I will seal the Kyuubi into myself for the briefest of second, and then I will detonate the explosive tags in the area. Naruto's eyes went wide as he heard his grandfather's suicidal plan. But why? Naruto asked, making Onanami look at him confused. If you could seal Kyuubi into you, then why do you need to K yourself? 2 reasons. Onanami held out 2 fingers and began to tick off the reasons. 1, because my body is old and I won't last long. So sealing Kyuubi into me would only drain me even further. Then 2 is that if I can't prevent my grandson from becoming that monster, then I don't deserve to live. Naruto was shocked as Onanami rubbed the top of his head and slowly walked away. XXX. Are you ready, Naruto? Onanami asked as the group stood behind Onanami with Naruto sitting down. Naruto gave a quick nod and the others placed their hands on Onanami's shoulder or chest. Now remember, these won't be the real you, just chakra clones. So depending on how much chakra you give me is how much time they can last. Everyone nodded and began to pour their chakra into Onanami. Naruto closed his eyes as he felt himself drift into his mindscape. XXX. Kyuubi's eye opened just as Naruto and his group appeared before making him smile. Well, if it isn't my jailer. Kyuubi looked at Naruto, who looked calmly back. And you brought guests, now let's see. Kyuubi scanned each individual with his SI. Jiraiya, Kushina and that cursed Yodime Hokage spoke about you often. Naruto's eyes widened at his mother's name as he looked up at the fox who smiled down at him. Onanami Kushina always would cry in her sleep, thinking how she thought her father's in Azushiogakur. You can try and taunt me, but it will not work. Onanami said with a twinge of anger in his old voice. Yes, but who said I was trying to taunt you? Kyuubi's eye drifted down to Naruto, who was shaking a little. Naruto, you need to calm yourself now. Onanami said with a firm voice. You knew my mom. Naruto looked up at Kyuubi, who smirked down at Naruto with a sinister smile. Yes, you could call it that if you consider being sealed into her, knowing her. Kyuubi smiled, seeing Naruto's look of shock in his face. Oh, yes boy, before you she was the Jinchuriki of me. Naruto shook his head as he looked at Kyuubi with a look of determination that made Kyuubi's smile dwindled a little. Well, I guess if she can beat you, then that means I can too. Kyuubi roared at Naruto as it s itself against the steel sea. Don't act arrogant, human. Kyuubi's eyes reflected nothing but sheer hate. You are nothing like you, dear mother. You are a mere fragment of my hatred. You can never defeat me. Naruto smiled as he lifted his shirt up. I guess we're going to find out. Naruto held out his arm as a seal went up his entire length. Then to Kyuubi's amazement he s it into his seal, holding him back, and twisted it, freeing him. I'm going to enjoy ripping you to pieces. Kyuubi took his paw and s the gate, forcing it open. Then with a roar he sent a shockwave strong enough to force everyone flying backwards. Naruto was the first to recover as he turned and shifted his body so he would land on his feet. I guess I'm going to pull out all the stops against you. Naruto smiled as Kyuubi's eyes tightened into a sinister glare. Kyuubi threw his head back and fired a chakra ball that was sent flying towards them with enough force to rip apart the walls of the sewer. Naruto's eyes widened as he couldn't figure out a way to stop Kyuubi's attack until a yellow square-shaped barrier appeared in front of him. The ball of chakra smacked into the barrier and exploded, making spider cracks begin to dance up its frame and tiny fragments begin to fall. I really didn't want to try, but you are too annoying to be left alone. Naruto turned to see Kakuheki, who was standing with his hands held forward, but Naruto could tell he was almost done with all the sweat running down his face. I'm not done yet. Suddenly Naruto was encased in a barrier and was roughly thrown at the wall that suddenly shattered, letting the aftershock hit everyone. Naruto could feel the barrier absorb the attack, but still could see cracks form. Naruto turned to see Jiraiya right behind him using the barrier to stop himself from being blown backwards. Then Naruto saw Kakuheki suddenly fall to the ground and curl up like he was going to sleep as he slowly vanished. Everyone was wrong, he is lazy. Naruto felt the barrier shattered, and that was when he and Jiraiya made their move. Jiraiya grabbed Naruto's legs and threw him into the sky while he performed the Rasengan. Kyuubi glared at Naruto and took a swipe and caught Naruto, sending him into the ground, but when he connected he vanished in smoke. Hey, Kyuubi. Kyuubi turned around just as Jiraiya s his giant Rasengan into Kyuubi's face. Now Naruto. Kyuubi was throwing backwards just as Naruto erupted out of the ground and took a hold of Kyuubi's tail. Kyuubi looked down to see Naruto start to drain his chakra, but before he could get up a sea of blades descended and pinning him to the ground. Kyuubi looked up to see Denpa sitting on the hilt of his dagger waving at him. I will not lose. Suddenly the chakra began to turn black as it entered Naruto, turning one of his eyes black. I said it before, Naruto Uzumaki you are, but a mere fragment of my hatred now disappear. Naruto felt his eye close when two voices called out. No, Naruto. Naruto's eyes flew open as he stared into the faces of his father and a woman with bright red hair. He was no longer staring at Kyuubi, but a completely white area. You belong here. Dad. Minato looked a little shocked, but nodded all the same. Mom. Kushina nodded her head, which resulted in the two getting the biggest bear hug they ever had before. I thought I would never see you. Naruto gently cried as his parents patted his head. It's okay, Naruto. Minato turned to Kushina. Honey, would you mind restraining Kyuubi? Kushina smiled as she sent some of her chakra through Naruto. Everyone stared at shock as chakra chains erupted out of Naruto and tied the Kyuubi down. This chakra, it's not possible. Kyuubi thought in panic. Kushina. Onanami said with slight disdain. I thought Minato would put your chakra in here so you could see your son. Mom, Dad, I have so many questions. Naruto was hushed when Kushina gave Naruto a hug. I'm sorry, Naruto. Naruto was confused as he looked at his father, who looked away. If I was stronger, you wouldn't be in the mess you are in. Naruto gently pushed his mother back and smiled at her. I don't blame either of you. This shocked both of them. I knew what you did was for the best of the village, so the best thing I can do is make sure your sacrifice doesn't go in vain. Wait a minute, how do you know so much, Naruto? Minato asked with a curious gaze. Come with me and you will see for yourself. Naruto smiled as he went back into his body. Naruto opened his eyes just as the chains attached themselves to the ground. Kushina and Minato suddenly materialized besides Naruto. Kushina looked around until she saw a frail-looked old man that made her eyes water. Father. Onanami smiled as his daughter caught him in a hug. I thought US when you made me get in the boat. Onanami gently hugged his daughter back. I'm sorry for making you worry so much. Onanami's eyes seemed to gain some light as he looked at his daughter. I guess it's time I enter this fight. Kushina looked at Onanami, who simply walked forward while dropping his cane. I guess it can't be helped seeing how powerful you are, Kyuubi. Kyuubi snarled as he broke free from his chains. Such a silly little beast. Onanami threw 4 tags in a circle around Kyuubi, making Kushina's eyes widened. Father, no. Onanami turned and smiled as he turned back to the Kyuubi, who began to stand up. Fuinjutsu, Jikantishi, Sealing Jutsu, Temporal Stasis. Kyuubi gave off a roar just as it froze in place. If you want to beat Kyuubi, I suggest you do it now and make it big. Naruto took one look at Onanami, who looked to get older every second. Naruto, use my chakra. Naruto turned to see Minato, Jiraiya, and Denpa standing next to him. Naruto held out his hand just as the three pour their chakra into him. Naruto concentrated on his seal and kept pumping more and more chakra until he was holding a giant spiraling ball of chakra. I'm proud the way you grew up, Naruto. Minato said this as he gave his son a final hug as he vanished. Kyuubi, I have, but one request. Naruto jumped as he started to drain Kyuubi's chakra. Get out of my face. Naruto took the oversized Rasengan and shoved it directly into Kyuubi's face, sending the fox backwards, but he left behind something when he went flying backwards: his chakra. Naruto felt the chakra begin to entire his body, giving him a ghost-like form just as the Kyuubi came out of the rubble with a growl. I cannot lose to you. Kyuubi threw his head back and created a giant-sized ball of chakra. My, you have this much power even now. Naruto smiled as he turned his seal again, making interlocking Torii drop, pinning Kyuubi while the gate shut, making Kyuubi glare at Naruto. This is impossible, this Fuinjutsu and that new form, he looks just like Rikudo Sennin, sage of the six paths. Kyuubi thought as his eye gently closed as he gently fell into slumber. Naruto turned around and saw Kushina with Onanami in her lap crying. Now Kushina, how many times do I have to tell you? Onanami said as he gently faded away. Crying never befitted you. This made Kushina cry even more. Why did you never try and contact me? Kushina's voice was laced with hurt as her father smiled. Because it was better that you looked towards the future instead of being trapped in the past. Onanami gave his daughter one last K. But I always watched as you grew into a beautiful woman who married a man, who would make her happy, and had a cute baby boy. I was never for a second not watching you. If anything, I should be apologizing. Kushina looked down with surprise as her father smiled sadly. I watched as that monster of a man tore you away from your family. I was too weak, I couldn't. Kushina gently silenced her father with a hug filled with love. You don't have to apologize. Onanami looked at Kushina with tired eyes. I know you would tired anything to get to Konoha, but in your current condition you couldn't make it in time. Onanami looked away, but Kushina turned his head towards her. But I'll never blame you for anything, father. You watched over Naruto when he needed it most. You were his protector when his life was in serious danger, and for that I thank you. Kushina kissed the top of Onanami's head and smiled down at him with tears in her eyes. I'll see you soon, all right, father. With that, Onanami disappeared, leaving only Naruto and Kushina. Naruto, I don't have a lot of chakra left. Kushina looked at the sea just as chains wrapped around the sea to keep it secure. But I can make sure Kyuubi won't be getting out. Naruto nodded as his mother began to disappear. Naruto, I will be watching you, I promise. I just want to say a couple of things. Thank you for letting me be your mother, show everyone how strong you can be, and don't let that Hinata girl s through your fingers. I would have liked to see you with someone with my attitude, but I can tell she has a fire in her that will make you stand on your toes, but there is one person I want to warn you about. His name is Madara Uchiha, and he is a cold-hearted man who would do anything for the Kyuubi and all the power it would give him. Naruto looked at the ground, then back at his mom. How do you know about that, mom? Kushina's eyes filled with some tears as she spoke. Because he was the one who controlled the Kyuubi and attacked Konoha. Naruto's eyes widened at what she said. But don't go looking for him, he is too strong for right now. I promise, mom. Naruto stated, but deep inside he was fighting the urge to go out and look for this man. I love you, mom. I love you, son. Kushina smiled at Naruto as she gave him K as she completely faded away. XXX. Naruto awoke to find an even older looking Onanami. What happened to you? Naruto ran at his uncle as he coughed. This is the price for using that Fuinjutsu. Onanami seemed to be fading away. You freeze time in whatever is in the circle, but the user ages 10 times every second he has it active, but I do have one thing left to give you. Onanami pressed a scroll into Naruto's hand. Open it and wrap it around your head, the information will be transported into you. It contains everything about us, but most importantly it contains how we s out. Naruto's eyes widened as he looked at the scroll that contained what he wanted to know. Naruto looked back at Onanami and saw that he was breathing slowly and looked even paler than before. Grandfather. Naruto dropped the scroll and grabbed his grandfather by his clothing, making the old man flinch. Naruto, I lived this life far too long for my taste. Onanami looked at Naruto as his eyes lost its light. I've lived my life full of regrets, but hopefully passing my torch to you I can finally be free of those regrets. I have faith in you, Naruto, but I want you to promise me one thing. That no matter what you see or hear in that scroll you won't let your anger get the better of you. Naruto looked confused for a second. I promise, grandfather. Onanami smiled at Naruto as he gently closed his eyes for the last time. Everyone looked at the Uzumaki in sadness as Naruto gently cried over the last family member he ever had. XXX. Naruto and the rest of the group made a burial for the old Uzumaki. Naruto was still clutching the last gift given to him by his grandfather. After burying his grandfather, Naruto asked Kakuheiki what did he do in his Mindscape. Kakuheiki explained that he could mold his chakra into barriers and depending on how much he put into them defines how strong they will be. So what now? Naruto looked at Ishiki and saw that the other members of the small group that followed Onanami was looking at him as well. Why are you all looking at me? Ishiki smiled at that as Denpa answered. Because Onanami's last request before he sent us to retrieve you was that when he has to follow Naruto. Denpa watched as Naruto just looked at the grave once again. Look, you don't have to decide now, but I think your path will become clear once you use that scroll. Everyone turned and left, leaving Naruto with his grandfather's grave. Naruto looked at the scroll and sighed. No time like the present. Naruto sat down and wrapped the open scroll around his head. XXX. Senji was sitting around when a bird flew by his ear, chirping as it went by. Senji smiled as he heard the news. Sir Onanami is finally S. Senji stood up and popped his back and continued on his walk. I guess that piece of the puzzle is solved. That was when he heard a twig snapping. Senji turned around and saw Pain staring at him with cold gray eyes. Oh, I didn't know you could change looks like that. The Pain he was staring at had long hair tied in a ponytail with a fringe hanging down the right side of its head. What are you up to? Pain stated simply with a cold and calculated manner. But if I tell you, then that would ruin the surprise. Senji smiled as Pain just stared at him. But I will tell you this, it's going to be a blast. Senji turned around and ran into a multi-headed dog that growled at him. Make no mistake, you cross me even for a second, I will make you wish you were never born. Pain stared at Senji, who smiled right back and nodded his head. I guess the same can be said for me. Senji moved to the left of the dog, not even paying it no mind. I hope you meant your words, Nagato, because I will be crossing Akatsuki very soon. This thought made Senji smile even wider and chuckle deep in his throat. Pain turned around only to see Madara staring at him with his lone eye. What are you doing? Madara asked plainly. I don't trust him. Pain let his summon go as he continued to stare at Madara. Something about him makes me angry and I don't even know why. Look, I don't know what to do about it, but he is a member of this organization. Madara watched as Pain twitched slightly. But I don't trust him either, Nagato. So I'm going to have Zetsu keep a very close eye on him. Pain nodded his head and walked back up to Omegakure with Madara watching him. XXX. Ishiki and the rest of the group looked outside for Naruto only to see him in a circle of seals with the scroll around his head. So he's seeing what happened to his village. Ishiki looked at Naruto with some curiosity. I wonder what will you do once you see it, Naruto. He looked at his brother, who smiled at him before looking at Naruto again. So what do we do now? Kakuheiki asked with a yawn. Everyone looked at one another with confused looks. How about we cook something to eat? Enmatsuki asked just as everyone's stomach growled. I'll go get the food ready. Ishiki, you're coming to help me. Ishiki was about to say no when Enmatsuki grabbed his arm and pulled him away with a smile. I will never understand those two. Denpa looked at Jiraiya, who was scribbling on a notebook with a perverted look in his eye, while Kakuheiki found a nice boulder and was sleeping on it. Okay, looks like I'll watch Naruto for now. Denpa jumped up onto the trees above Naruto and was currently looking down just as the seals began to glow. He's in. XXX. Naruto felt himself being pulled into his mind until he opened his eyes to a beautiful country with flowing rivers. Naruto turned around and saw a couple of whirlpools out in the distance. I guess this is Azushigakure. Naruto turned around and saw a couple of people walking through the village, one of which caught his attention. Kushina, slow down. Came the voice of a much younger Onanami, who came running up to try and catch his daughter. Don't be so slow, Dad. Kushina stopped and allowed her father to catch up to her. We're going to be late. My dad isn't going anywhere today. Onanami smiled as he picked his daughter up. Hey, I know, but we really ever get to see Grandpa. Naruto smiled as he watched them walk. I know that, but first we need to stop by the Gufukage's office. This brought a frown to Kushina, but her father quickly tickled his daughter into a smile. Naruto followed them as they approached a small tower that looked like it was made entirely out of whirlpools. As they walked up the tower they heard slight yelling, before appearing in front of the Gufukage's door. They started everything. Came a very gruff voice. I don't know what you are talking about, Senji, but you need to calm yourself. Came Azushio's voice laced with authority and calm. I'm warning you this one last time, Azushio-sama. Senji voiced in self-contained anger. If you don't back away from them you will end up regretting it. And before Azushio could answer back, the door was open, revealing a rather old-looking man with black eyes. Kushina moved behind her father as she looked at Senji, who stared right back. Having a good day, Senji. Onanami watched as Senji frowned at him. You laugh all you want, Uzumaki, but I promise you this little village will end up suffering because of your cage. Senji turned on his heel and left without further word, leaving those unnerving words in the air. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.